Is your back pain coming from your big toe? I know that might sound like a really funny statement, but I'm going to explain to you in this video why a stiff or tight big toe could actually be causing your back pain. So, your big toe is one of the most important joints in your entire body. So what happens is, when we go through our walking or gait cycle, we actually go into toe off, or so we go rock onto our big toe. Then we go into what we call a triple extension pattern. So we go into extension of the ankle, the knee, and the hip joint. And so when we're going through this toe off phase and this triple extension pattern, we are actually firing our foot muscles, our intrinsic foot muscles, our calves, our hamstrings, and our glutes and our core. And what happens is if over time your big toe becomes really stiff or restricted, I know I get a tight right big toe because I played AFL and I was left-footed, and so my kicking side was my left foot and my stance foot was my right, so I used to jam that in to the top of the footy boot a lot. And so I have to work a lot on my big toe mobility so that I do not get back pain. And that is how I sort of came up with this, along with lots of other research and tying a few different pieces of information together. And so, like we said before, if we're going through proper toe off and getting through proper big toe range of motion, then we will be using our posterior chain, and that'll take a lot of pressure off our back. And so what happens if that goes wrong? So our normal big toe, to go through like what's normal big toe range of motion, you want to be getting at least like 45 degrees for walking of big toe flexion. So that's like bending the big toe back when it's nice and straight. And if you're not getting at least 45, it means you're going to have compensations when you're walking or running. And if you're running or wearing high heels, you want to be up towards that 65 to 90 degrees range of motion through flexion. And so what happens is, if you do not have this, you struggle to get into that triple extension pattern and you have to start to compensate. And so the compensations that start to come in with people is you will either like not go onto your tippy toes properly, and your foot starts to roll in. And then instead of getting into that triple extension pattern, your knee stays bent and your hip closes off like this. Whereas a nice triple extension pattern will look more like this, where you can start to see we're going through our knee, our hip is extended and our core is on, as opposed to skipping through that extension pattern and our quads are pulling us up. And so what happens when our quads start to do more of the work rather than our posterior chain? It means we go into an anterior pelvic tilt. So the quads get really tight, they start to pull us forward, and all of a sudden now, if we want to stand upright, we're putting a lot more pressure through our lower back. And so if we're putting a lot more pressure on our lower back, if it is not strong enough of handling that extra pressure, eventually it is going to give us pain and discomfort. So what you want to do is, we want to first release off your tib anterior, so the front of the shin. So it's a muscle that actually attaches down right below like the base of your first metatarsal head, so right below your big toe joint. And if it gets really tight, it can pull the joint up and cause that restriction. And that's usually from that foot collapsing in. Tib anterior is a little muscle that runs down the front of the shin and it attaches into the base of the first metatarsal head. And so if you can't get up and over the toe properly, what happens is you'll roll in slightly when you walk. That tib anterior has to pull the arch up. It then restricts your big toe and it stops you from being able to get into that nice triple extension pattern. So the first thing we want to do is release off that tib anterior, Then we want to work on strengthening up the foot, so going through full range of motion through your dorsiflexion. And then the third thing is we want to start to activate your glutes, because the glutes are actually what's going to stop that foot from going through too much pronation. So a little bit of pronation is good, but not too much. Otherwise, we end up over recruiting that glute med. So we're going to go through a few of those exercises with you right now. So the first exercise is getting a ball into tib anterior. So like we said, tib anterior runs just on the outside of the shin, and it's most meaty in sort of that top half of the shin, and then it becomes more like a tendon that comes down and touches in here. So the easy way of getting into it is just getting a ball and a little chair. And so from there, you can pop it in. If you got a slippery ball, it's probably gonna roll around a little bit. So you can just hold it with that other hand, and we roll forwards and back. You'll find some tight sore spots. Then from there, you just wanna wiggle forwards and back, and then do 5 to 6 sweeps on any tight or sore spots, and then we will move around a bit. So you want to be spending about a minute on each side to release that off. The next thing we want to do is we just want to go through some calf raises. So going through your full range of motion to up as high as you can onto your tippy toes. If you've got a little block or a little step that you can do it on, even better, so that you start to get into a little bit more of that dorsiflexion position. So you can go there. And it's always good to start off with double leg, and then as that becomes better, you can progress on to single leg. If you struggle with balance, you can just hold on to a wall or something next to you to give yourself a bit of extra stability. Make sure you're getting through that full range of motion. The last exercise we want to run through is a nice little exercise we came up with here, where you can chuck the band underneath the base of the first metatarsal head, if you have like one of those little booty bands. So you're just chucking it under the base of the big toe. Then you'll scoot your foot through, so it's around the ankle there. Then we're just going to stick our bum out. We're going to put all our weight and shift on this side, so the right side. Then we're just going to do a light little tap out. And so when we do this, we want to make sure that this leg stays nice and stable. We're not walking across, we're not collapsing in, because that means the glute's not stabilizing us in the right plane. And you just want to do those little tap outs. The other thing you'll notice with this is you'll start to feel your intrinsic feet muscle working, which is going to give you a bit more proprioceptive feedback and awareness as to when that knee starts to drop in. And so this is the pattern or the group of muscles that we want to get working together. You want your feet, your calves, your hamstrings, your glutes, all firing as one when you're going through like walking or running patterns. So when we're checking out our big toe dorsiflexion, we just want to hold underneath the base of the metatarsal head, and we want to be checking it out. And so this is the right side that I was talking about that's stiff for me. So you can see it really struggles to get into that position. Whereas if I test out my left foot, you can see I get a lot more range of motion through that big toe joint. And so that's as simple as what you need to do. Just lock off that bottom of the metatarsal head and check. And like we said, if you're getting more than 45 to 60 degrees or any more than 65 degrees, happy days. Anything less than that, you probably want to work on some mobility through that big toe and also working on the hip stability. So I hope that gives you a bit of insight into why your big toe or stiff big toe can actually be causing your lower back pain. It gives you tests to do to make sure you know that you're not restricted through your big toe. And then it also gives you a few exercises to go through to start working on it and fixing your tight big toe and also fixing your back pain. If you liked this, please go and check out our website. We have heaps more information just like this available in our blogs. We also have our free ebook, our top 3 exercises for back pain, which you should check out. And then that signs you up to our newsletter so that you can stay up to date with all our latest videos and all our latest blog posts. If you like this video as well, please comment or hit the subscribe button so that you get notified whenever new stuff like this comes.